Hey friends, I'm Laura Kashner and you're listening to the Simplified podcast. If you're looking for a quiet place where you can filter out the noise and the hustle, this is it. Every week we invite you to slow down and join us to explore practical ways to organize and automate the complicated parts of life so you can focus on what truly matters most. Guys, it is time to save the date because fall launch is coming. On September 13th, we're dropping a whole new collection of 2024 planners and products that will help you build a life you love, one day, one page, one plan at a time. We absolutely love them and we think you will too. So don't forget, mark your calendar for fall launch on September 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern. The older I get, the more I know this to be an absolute fact. Time is weird. Do you have days when you can vividly remember what it was like to be 8 years old running around on the playground? How about 18 and ready to walk across the stage at high school graduation? Do you remember what it was like to be 28 and in the middle of finding more of your skills at work, or if you're like me, how to juggle work and marriage and being a new mom? Doesn't it all feel so long ago and also like it was yesterday, all at the same time? Lately, I've been looking at my daughters and thinking about the young women they're going to become, what parts of their sweet and sassy personalities are going to blossom with them into adulthood, what kind of careers will they have, who are they going to love, what kind of relationship will they have with Alex and me, how will they take care of themselves and love themselves well. Thinking about my girls as young women in their 20s trying to navigate the world makes me feel so soft and tender towards them. I want every good thing for them. I want them to feel strong and confident in who they are and know that they are loved. I know our children are supposed to grow up and be the people they were created to be, but sometimes I wish they could just stay this age forever. Because I remember what my 20s were like. I remember how many questions I had when I walked into the first real job I ever had. I remember feeling like everyone else had it together and knew exactly what they were doing, except for me. I remember the exhilaration of finding and marrying my very best friend. I remember the long, hard journey my body and my mind endured when I grew an actual human being. My 20s were a decade of getting to know who I was a little bit more and figuring out the people and values and experiences that matter to me. It's a decade of highs and lows as you fight for what you want and learn about what you need. There are times I think back to that decade and wish I could tell myself so many things. I wish I could take some pressure off of younger Laura to show her what I've learned along the way, that you can trust the quiet voice in the back of your head, the one that's pushing you to take the calculated risk, to stretch yourself even when you don't know what the results might be, that even when you try and fail, you will learn so much more than if you had never tried at all. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I love these conversations that explore who we used to be because I think they're so instructive about who we are now and where we're going. I like to hear how other people have answered some of the big questions that I've asked too. And that's why I had to have Liz on to talk about this. If you're going through this decade right now, if you've already lived through it like we have, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation today. If anything, because you'll know that you aren't alone. Everyone has felt like they're not put together enough. Everyone has gone to sleep wondering if they did the right thing for their hurting friend or if they're doing enough at work to advance in their career. Everyone has wondered if they've really met the right person or how to address a changing relationship with their parents. Everyone. So here we go. Here's what Liz and I wish we knew in our 20s. Hey, Liz.
Hi, Laura.
Are you ready to rewind a bit?
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder if it's helpful if we just told people how old we are so they have some context. Is that weird?
I don't care how, but yeah, absolutely
Okay.
not weird.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'm 36.
And I am not freshly 30 anymore, but I am 30. I am freshly in my 30s.
So it's funny, I'm closer to 40 now than I am 30. So my 20s feel like a lifetime away.
Yeah.
Where you are, it's a little more fresh in your mind.
It's definitely fresh. But then I think back to like my early 20s, and that just feels like I was an entirely different person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, okay, let's just dive in. I'm excited about this discussion.
This is fun because we didn't know each other like at this phase of
No.
life. So this will
Nope.
be interesting.
I'm excited. Let's dive in. Tell me where you were when you turned 20. What did your life look like? What were you into? What were your dreams? I want to hear all about it.
Oh my gosh. Like this, yeah, it really does feel like an actual lifetime ago. And I just was such a different person. It's crazy. So, okay, let's see. When I was 20, I was living in the city. So I was going to school in Chicago and living the city life, third floor walk up. I was doing all of the city things. I was really into school. I was really into school. I was really into my classes. I worked on campus. So I was a tour guide for my college, DePaul University. Yeah. And I did a ton with the admissions office. I worked like that was kind of my crew. That was sort of my circle of friends. We're all tour guides. We're all something within the admissions office. And I was really into education, like higher education. And I thought that I would be a school counselor. I started my master's program a few years later in higher education and eventually dropped out. I don't know if you can call it that when it's grad school. I don't know. Can you drop out of grad school? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can.
We
Yeah.
should do a whole episode on quitting things and like how to know when to quit them because that was a really turbulent.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really hard decision, but I stepped away from that. And I met David when I was 20. I met my husband when I was 20 years old, like freshly 20. I was a month after my birthday. So I was also just learning how to be like in a big kid relationship too, because that was like my first actual serious adult, if you can call yourself an adult at 20, relationship. Where were you? What were you doing when you were 20?
Okay, I was also in college. I was 20, would have been my junior year. Goodness, I look back at college and now I have a child that's closer to college than I am to college.
That's just insanity.
Insane, but also so exciting. I adored college
Me too.
so much.
Me too. I hated school until college. I hated high school. I just was so not I don't want to say not a school person because I loved learning, but the act of going to school was very anxiety inducing for me.
All of the other things that come with high school,
Yeah.
the social
Yes.
things, yes.
Yep.
Where college, you just are a little bit more mature and you just feel more like yourself because
Yep.
college is about pursuing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, okay, so 20, let's see, I was president of my sorority. I was an art major. I was an art major.
Were you? I didn't know what you majored in.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I should have figured.
Yes. And I did stuff in the music department too. And I just was living it up. And I went to school in my hometown, which not probably a lot of people know,
Yeah.
but I lived on campus and it felt like I was 20 hours away.
Yeah.
I loved everything about it. So I think for most of us, one of the biggest things that defines our 20s is like our first real job. What was your first real job? And do you remember what it was like on the first day?
Yeah, I sure do. Okay, so my first like real actual job was I was an admissions counselor for my college for DePaul University, which if you knew me in college, you would not have been surprised. So I was the one I was talking in front of really huge groups of people, giving information sessions, going through the PowerPoint slide. And I was also reviewing applications for students who were applying to the school. So I loved it. But I worked obviously in the admissions office through college. I was attending grad school there. And so all of the pieces, it just made sense. It was kind of a natural progression. And I really, really loved working with high school students. I loved high school students. So my first day was a little bit different because I had worked there before. So it wasn't like totally unknown. I knew a lot of the people, I knew the building, but it was very different now. And I had been a student for obviously all of my time there to that point. And so now these people who were once my superiors were like my coworkers now, which was a really odd shift for me mentally. I don't know if it was for anybody else or if it was just for me, but I always felt like I was still the kid. And in a lot of ways, it was really comfortable because it was familiar and it was work that, it was like I said, that natural progression. But I felt really stagnant there. There was a lot of soul searching that happened while I was there. Like I said, I was kind of doing that parallel to a master's program. And I ultimately decided to kind of make a shift and focus more on marketing, which was what my undergrad degree was in. And here we are.
Isn't it crazy when I look back to like my first jobs too?
Yeah.
So I graduated with an arts degree with a concentration in graphic design. And what I wanted was to move to Chicago and work in a fancy design agency, like a gorgeous high rise with windows on all four sides. Like I wanted to wear high heels every day and like click down the street and walk into this. And I had several interviews in the city for that, but I was a nobody from central Illinois.
Right.
Like what? Yeah. So my first job was in my hometown working for like the local newspaper. And it was also a printing company. So this is where I learned like all of the skills I now use today for Simplified.
That's where you got it.
But back then I was like, this is so embarrassing that I'm in my hometown. My first, like just some shame.
Yep.
Maybe not shame, but just like, I know I'm meant for more type of attitude, which is a really immature way to look at employment. But when you're 21,
well, when you're 21, you are immature, and you just are,
and you just feel like I just graduated from college, and now it's just time to be a big star in the real world. And that was a reality check for me that okay, I'm gonna have to come back down and start at the bottom and work my way up.
Yep.
But I always look back and I'm like, I cannot believe that 13 years ago when I was in that little hometown printer, I learned all of these skills that I'm now using to like make planners that are in Target and Walmart.
Yeah.
And I never would have dreamed that 13 years ago.
Right.
So the same for you. Like you wouldn't have dived into the marketing world.
No,
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's crazy where life takes you. Like you look back at every little decision that you make. And if I think too much about this, sometimes it gets really scary and overwhelming. But you look back at like every turn and all of those little turns and pivots led you to where you are right this second.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is just wild to think about. That just makes me feel really small in a good way sometimes when I need to put things in perspective, you know?
Yes. And it has also, I think, taught me now in my 30s when something doesn't go my way or there's a current circumstance that I'm like, I don't love this. Instead of rushing to extreme emotion, it's you now know, okay, let me take a deep breath. This is today's issue, but it's, in a year from now, am I even going to remember this?
I think that all the time. Someone's told me that one time of like the things that you're worrying about today. If you don't think you'll be worrying about them 1 year from now, don't spend more than 5 minutes stressing about it right now. And that is such a great gut check for me all of the time.
Same. Is there ever something that you did at work, like in those early days, that just makes you want to like, it's so cringe. Like you just want to like bury yourself into a hole.
How much time do we have and where do I start? Okay, first of all, if you know me, you know I'm kind of the queen of cringe. I'm the queen of crying and the queen of cringe. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think the one that comes first to my brain. So I was working at Vital Proteins. I was a social media manager there. And we used to do a lot of like Facebook and Instagram lives. That was kind of the height of when those were new, I should say. And so I used to do like a Q&A Instagram lives. Like I would hop and we had, I don't know, at that time, like 400, 500,000 followers. So little old me would like turn the camera and I would answer, answer questions from the comments and things like that. And there was one day where I was probably on for like 30, 40 seconds and there were only like 12 people watching. And I was like, that's strange. I wonder that maybe it's just the time of day. Like, I don't know. That was a very low number. And all of a sudden, my friend Roxy comes flying in from the other room, like waving her hands frantically, like, you are going live on your personal Instagram. Like, I'm talking to my 200
like
followers on Instagram. Yes, all my friends.
And you're probably
Oh
Liz,
my
Liz, what
God.
are you
What
doing?
are you doing? Like, I wanted to just crawl in a hole and just die. And like, my ex-boyfriend was one of the
Uh,
people who was watching. I'm like, why is he watching? That's so strange.
oh my, yeah, you're like, wow, he's really followed me over to Vital, hasn't he?
Oh my God. So,
Okay, that's hilarious. Okay, so that brings up kind of another thing I wanted to talk about is okay, romantic relationships. Like
mhm.
I feel like your 20s, unless you are super lucky and you have a high school sweetheart and it all worked out magically for you.
Yeah,
But your 20s are when people are trying to figure out romantic relationships. But you said you met David when you were 20.
I did.
So that
I
wasn't
did.
a thing for you. Did you guys start dating right away?
We did. I feel like I went through a lot of, how do I want to say this? I got a lot of that out of my system before my 20s.
Mm,
Don't
yes.
judge me for that, but I spent a lot
Understood.
of high school like having fun and dating different people, and especially 18, 19 when I first got to college, like just trying different people on for size and nothing serious and just had fun. But yes, David was my first actual serious relationship, and I met him, yeah, at the age of 20. So really my entire 20s was spent figuring out both what I wanted and what I didn't want. So all with the same person. And
So interesting.
I got really lucky in that we just learned to grow together. I know that doesn't always happen, but we really complemented each other very well. And we still do, obviously. But we had some really hard, really honest conversations. I was also really lucky in that I had a really great example in my parents. So I
Hmm.
knew how I wanted to be treated and like big picture what I wanted in a partner. And to be honest, this is so cheesy, but I knew like immediately that David was it for me. This is so dorky, but it's one of my mom's favorite stories to tell. But the morning after I met him at a party. I was through a mutual friend. She brought me to this party and said, "Oh my gosh, you have to meet this guy, David. He's like the kind of guy you want to bring home to your parents. He's just so great." But the morning after I met him, I sat on the floor in my mom's closet. I had to go home for an appointment, and I was sitting on my mom's closet just like in a daze. And my mom was like, "What is up with you? What is going on?" And I was like, "I think I met the guy. Like, I think I met him." And he was just he was everything I wanted in a partner. Like, he was, and I knew that from the day I met him. He was so kind. He was ambitious. He cared about the people around. He just made me so comfortable. And he walked me home at 4 in the morning and he left me at my doorstep, waited for me to get inside, and he didn't even try to kiss me. Like he was just the
What a
sweetest guy.
guy.
I know. But he just fit me. I can't explain it. But so we fell in love. We did fall in love like head over heels pretty fast and furiously. We were very, very together very quickly. But we spent a lot of those first few years like in the trial and error phase, just learning each other and learning how to be good to each other and just how to be a good partner in a relationship because that was new for both of us. You know, we were both so young, but there were definitely some big moments where I was like, maybe this is the end of the road for us. I don't know.
Mm.
But we just communicated honestly and consistently and we got through them. My anxiety was a really big hurdle for us at different points. So that was a really big learning curve for him that he was willing to walk through with me, and that was really huge. But so yeah, I feel like I learned a lot relationship wise in a different way in my 20s. Like I learned it all with the same person. I went through a lot of bad eggs before the age of 20, so I figured out like what I wanted in a partner and just stuck with him.
I love that. I feel like the 20s are when you're finding your feet. Like
Yes.
you've been carried, you're even carried a lot through college. You know, you
Hmm.
have your parents are still a big part of your life
Yep.
most of the time. Then
Yep.
you've got people at college helping you, you know,
Yep.
get to the finale of graduation. And then it's
Yep.
like, boom, go. And
Now you're just flying.
yes, but when you've got a partner in your life to who's also trying to find their feet as well, and you can kind of just go together, it's just
Yeah, it's
that more
grounding. It's
beautiful.
very grounding.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The Simplified podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether it's how to be the best parent for my girls or figuring out how to balance my career with being the best mom, wife, daughter, friend I can be, figuring out what to do on any given day can feel like a lot. And whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/simplified today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/simplified. Summer seems to be hanging on up here in the Midwest. And while I'll take the longer days for as long as I can get them, I am done with the heat. Whenever I get home from being outside, I immediately want to take off my sweaty bra and air it out. It's the most unfun season to be a bra-wearing human. But Honeylove is making this season a bit more bearable. Honeylove bras are going to be your new favorites. They're so comfortable, you'll forget you're even wearing them. I just got the Honeylove's V bra, which I love. It's kind of a more relaxed bra, perfect for lounging around. There's no underwire, thank goodness, but it still lifts and separates with molded cups. I look good and I feel good, double win. But it doesn't stop there. Honeylove has more than just bras. They have incredibly comfortable leggings, tanks, and sleepwear to get you through the rest of the summer season. So treat yourself to the best bras on the market. Get 20% off your whole order at honeylove.com/simplified. One more time, get 20% off your whole order at honeylove.com/simplified. Don't forget to use our link so they know that we sent you. What about friendships? Like as a woman who's freshly 30, what is something about your friendships back then that you admire? And what do you think you could tell younger Liz about cultivating friendship in this stage of your life?
Yeah. So I have a small but mighty circle of friends. And truthfully, I've sort of always struggled to some degree with female relationships my whole life. I had a pretty awful bullying experience in high school, a couple, and then just like really hurtful falling out stuff in college. So I don't know. After all of that, I feel like it is still sort of hard for me to trust. Like that's a big thing for me. I'm working on it with my therapist. But I think a lot of my 20s honestly was spent just trying to fit myself in a box. And it was always a different shaped box, like depending on who was around me, like what my friend group was at the time. But I feel like I did a lot of mirroring, like when I look back at that. And it took me a really, really long time to feel comfortable enough in who I was and what I brought to the table. And even like what I liked and what I didn't like. I never felt like I was good enough or cool enough or skinny enough or fill in the blank, whatever enough. And I did a lot of comparing in my 20s, which I just feel like comparison is the thief of joy. And that's a cliche for a reason, but it's just so true. So I think that for me, when I look back at friendships, like I think if I just stop comparing myself and like stop trying to mold into what I think other people want me to be, I think I would have been so much happier. But when I think about the amazing friendships that I do have, I think of my wedding day and the women that I had standing next to me. And this is probably sappy, but shocker, I am sappy. But one of my favorite parts of weddings is the friendships that are standing at the altar. Oh. There's just something so cool to me about like all of the different paths that all of these women took.
Yes.
And they're all standing up there today to support their buddy. Like, there's just something, I have chills just talking about it.
It's
like
beautiful.
There's something that's so cool and strong to me about that. So I'm not going to cry. I think about the women I had standing next to me on like the best day, one of the most important days of my life, and how each of those different women came into my life, all at different points. All of our relationships look so different. And what we went through together was so different. It was so cool that all of my worlds collided to support me on such a big day. There's just something really cool about that and the strength of friendships for me. And the morning of my wedding, I one of my bridesmaids put together like a binder with a letter from each of my bridesmaids and my future in-laws and my mom and all kind of people. But I don't know. I'm really proud of what was in those letters and reading, I don't know, the way that we've been there for each other, the seasons that we have seen each other through. And I think when I look back on my friendships, like that is the gold, right? Like that is the heart of what I want in my life, or those kinds of friendships. So I don't know. I keep my circle tight because I want it to be. I think there are definitely things and decisions I regret in my 20s for sure, but I think I have the gold people in my life that I want, you know?
Small circles can be so, so strong and so, so shiny. Like you said, gold. Like,
Yeah.
And I've seen this meme like resurface. It's the friends that have seen you through all the seasons still are cheering you on through all of those seasons. Those are just the people that you are going to have forever.
Yeah.
And those are the people that you need to be keeping front of mind when you think about your friends. I love that so much.
What about you? Do you have a lot of the same friends now that you did in your 20s? What did that look like for you?
So I also had like my favorite people stand up with me in my wedding, but that was 12 years ago. We just celebrated our 12 years.
Also, I think it's helpful for people. Laura's very extroverted. Like you are
True.
very much an extrovert. And I kind of am, but I recharge as an introvert. So I think I'll be curious to hear about your friendships and how those are different.
So what's interesting about us is that we moved away right after our wedding.
Oh, wow. I don't think I knew that.
Yes, for Alex's first job. So our wedding was also kind of like a goodbye party. It was like, after this night, we might not see some of these people for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was really, really special in that way. But then we moved away and then I got pregnant and then quickly like the seasons of life just start happening. And then you realize like, oh, like I don't have any of like my college girlfriends are all 3 hours away. So who are my friends in my like real life now that I can call and say, can we go get coffee?
Right.
Because all of those people were 3, 4, 5 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're finding out how hard it is to like go into a room and be like, I don't know anyone here, but I really need a friend.
Yeah. Like how to make friends as an adult is
Yes.
hard. It's so hard. Yeah.
Yes. And I was kind of forced to do that in my 20s. And now 12 years later, and we've moved again, I feel like I'm getting good at it now. And you just have to be the person who makes the first move because everyone's kind of lonely. Like,
Yeah.
again, you're finding your feet again.
Such a good reminder. Everybody is sort of lonely.
Everyone's sort of lonely. And
Yeah.
and sometimes it just takes you to be the first person who makes the invite or makes things happen. So yes, I think it helps that I'm extroverted, but also when you said the mirroring thing, I feel like I just figured out how to not do that at age 36.
Yeah.
Like truly,
Yeah.
when I look back at the last decade, especially being a young mom and feeling like those really special people that I'm meeting, like other mom friends are so special. So I have to hold on to them because I can't lose them because it's so hard to find another one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do everything to make myself fit
Yeah.
what I think that they want from me as a friend. And that obviously I haven't done that for the last 10 years, but I remember feeling like that definitely 3 or 4 years ago for sure.
And don't get me wrong, I have not totally figured that out. I still absolutely do that. So don't get me wrong.
I do feel like this summer I've just in self-reflecting and I really feel like I love who I am and I feel like I can publicly love who I am and the things I am when I'm around my friends. And I have friends now in my life that love those weird things about me.
Yeah.
So that has taken some time. That has taken on like trying on different friendships a long time until I can find the women who are like, just do your thing. Like we love that you love things that you love. Like they don't have to be the things that I love.
Yeah.
And that has been a trial and error process for sure.
Finding just the comfortable friendships, comfortable in a good way that
Yes.
really fit you.
Yes.
You know?
But then I have the beauty of those bridesmaids who stood up with me 12 years ago when I do get to see them, which is like, you know, once a year or like once every 4 years.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one of my best friends, Andrea, if she's listening to this. I haven't seen her since before COVID.
Yeah.
But whenever like I'll see her, she'll text me and I see just her name comes across my life again. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, girl, I love you. And we'll hop on the phone and we'll just catch up and it'll be like no time has passed, no distance has passed.
Yep.
And that's how I know that that one's a keeper. Like
For
I
sure.
got to keep her in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's also important in your 30s, you realize that, okay, I heard this analogy one time and I love it. So there are people in your life who are going to be porch friends. Like they stay on your front porch.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another group of people that they're kitchen friends. And like they are a little closer to you and you can invite them in your kitchen and maybe you have dinner with them or it's like a wine night or whatever. And then there's a smaller group and that circle is smaller than the front porch friends. And then the smallest of circles is like your bedroom closet friends. Like there's only a few people who you would let see your closet. And not all of those levels of friendships deserve the same amount of closeness to you. Like it's okay if people are front porch friends.
Yep.
You know, it's the maybe your kids are on the same softball team and you like to catch up every Monday night at practice. And then it's like, okay, we'll see you next week.
Yep.
And then the next level, maybe they're a little more intimate. They're like your book club and then there's the people that are your bedroom closet friends are the people that are the ride or die. They deserve all of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the goal of every friendship doesn't have to be closet friend.
Yes.
There is a role and a purpose and a beautifulness to the front porch friends. Like that serves a season and that builds us in a lot of ways. But the goal of every porch friend doesn't have to become a closet friend, you know?
Yes.
They can be what they are.
Yes.
I think that's something that I have learned too of like, you don't have to turn every person into your best friend. Like they can be on your periphery and you can serve purposes for each other, but they don't have to become everything.
I love that so much. Okay, I have another like topic that I think is super interesting.
Switching gears.
Switching gears a little bit is so we've talked about romantic relationships and then
Yep.
friendships, but
Yep.
then I think the other one to talk about is our relationship with our parents.
Oh,
which
yeah.
that
So interesting.
naturally changes when we go out into the world and have more experiences. We kind of become the boss of ourselves and our parents move like from a supervisor role to more of a consultant.
I love that.
I love that too. How was that for you and your mom and dad? How did that feel? And were there any hiccups as you kind of like redrew the boundaries?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. I think the older I got, the more confident, and I continue to get more confident, but I think the older I got, the more confident I became in knowing myself and the more confident I continue to be. But I think knowing myself and knowing what was best for me as an individual, like me as Liz, the person, and not as a unit of a family, because that was a shift, you know? And I have absolutely made decisions that my mom didn't agree with or love. And I think I'm lucky because honestly, most of those have been small, which became big because we argued about them, you know? Like I think for the most part, I have been lucky in that, you know, none of the big life decisions that I have made have we disagreed on, if that makes sense. But I think something that I have to remind myself often and is now easier to do as I'm now a mom, but my mom was learning right alongside me. I'm the oldest child. I have a younger brother. So she was learning just as I was how to move from the boss of me to more of like a consultant role. Like she was figuring that out right alongside me. So we have definitely navigated some things. And I think she has seen me confidently make decisions that feel right for me. And she might not make the same decisions for herself. I think she has learned to trust me too. If she sees me trusting myself and trusting my gut, that she has sort of fallen in line. So I think, yes, we have absolutely navigated through that. But I also think it's been a struggle weaving families together now that we're married. I mean, we've been married 4 years now, 4.5. So that's been interesting. And I live, for those who don't know, I live very, very close to my in-laws, like right down the street. And my parents are about 4 or 5 hours away. So there's a layer there that's also different and a little tricky. figuring out how to steer those conversations with love and understanding and kindness has been a learning experience. And just knowing that you are the boss of your nuclear family. Like, my primary responsibility is David, Bennett, and myself. Like, I am in
Yep.
charge of my unit. And I, yes, can take into consideration other people's feelings and opinions and experiences and things like that. But like, at the end of the day, that's my duty. My job is to make the best decision I can for the three of us. And so that's been interesting, just juggling. And I'm also lucky in that both of our families get along seamlessly. Like, we all love each other. We all hit the jackpot. But it's been interesting weaving everybody together.
Oh, I totally understand that.
What about you?
I'm the oldest kid in my family, so it was kind of the first time for everyone. Being the kid that now I'm out of the house, so you guys, you got to keep listening to mom and dad, but I'm over here
Right.
making my own decisions. But I agree with you. It's something that they had to trust that I was equipped to now be in charge of my life.
Yeah.
And I had to trust that respect from them and as well. So, man, that seems like such a long time ago. And like you, I met Alex when I was 21. So I quickly went from my siblings and my parents to now a pretty serious boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about the nuclear family. That was the case. That was the case for us as well.
Yeah.
We both have huge, huge families.
Yeah.
But I think what worked well for us is that while it was hard many, many times, the fact that we did move away, we had each other. That was
Yeah.
it. And so
Yep.
there was
Yep.
nowhere to run to when things got hard. I couldn't be like, okay, well, fine, I'm going to go sleep at mom and dad's tonight. Like,
Right.
there was no, that was too far away.
Nope, couldn't do it.
Yeah. We talk often about how that has really served our marriage well, is that there's no one else around.
Yep.
There's no other family. So
Yep.
we have to figure things out. And when things get hard, we got to face it and
Yep.
deal with it. And it's
Yep.
made us a lot, very, very strong for sure.
I love that.
Okay. So another thing about, we don't have our parents looking out for us as much is it becomes like our literal job to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Who let us do that?
I mean, and why are things so scary right away? Like adulting, goodness.
No.
And that includes making choices that serve us well. And this is something obviously we are always, no matter our age, learning how to do. But what do you wish you could go back and tell like 25-year-old Liz on how to take care of yourself well? Like, what have you learned about taking care of yourself that would have served you when you were younger?
Oh my gosh. A few things. A lot of things, but I will try to.
So many things.
So many things. But okay, the first would probably be that other people's opinion of you is none of your business. And I think about that so often in my daily life. Like, I have spent so much of my life wondering and worrying about what other people think of me. I know a lot of I'm not the only one. I know a lot of us do that, and I still do, don't get me wrong. But when I think about that reframe, it just helps put it in perspective for me. Okay, so you have your hierarchy, right? So for me, my daily musts, if you will, like, I have to be kind, I have to be respectful. I want to do the best I can where I can to make other people feel seen and heard and happy and comfortable. Those are my boxes. I feel my best when those boxes are checked. But after that, what other people think of how I live my life and what I look like or what I say, just like, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, you have the people who matter the most to you. And outside of that, I can't burden myself with what other people think of my outfit today.
Yes.
I just can't. Like, I have so many. And now, as a new mom and working full time, and the laundry list of things on my to-do list, like, I just literally don't have the time to care about what you think about me. And that might sound callous, but I have spent so much of my life worrying about whether or not other people like me. And it feels really good to start my 30s and start shifting away from that need, if you will. So that's number one. And then I think a second thing, this one is from my therapist. So shout out, Kate. I love you. But this has absolutely changed my daily life. So she gave me the analogy of bubbles. Okay, so everyone has a different color bubble. Let's say mine is red. Laura, yours is blue. Let's just say.
Okay.
So I am responsible for everything in my bubble that is red. My emotions, my actions, my reactions, my obligations, like all of that stuff, that's all red. Okay. So that's all in my bubble. Your bubble is blue. So you are responsible for everything that is blue. Your emotions, your reactions, your actions, all of that stuff. If your blue starts spilling over into my red bubble, so let's say you're disappointed maybe in a decision that I made that was best for me, and that made you uncomfortable. Like, I don't own that blue. That's yours.
Oh,
You totally have a right to feel that way, but you are responsible for that. I'm not. Like, that's not me. If you could see me right now, I am like physically pushing your blue back into your bubble and out of mine.
do not make my red purple.
Yes, I am red. I am not purple. Take that. I don't need to take care of your blue. Obviously, like, you still have to take accountability. If I screw up, if I hurt someone's feelings, like, I have to own
Yes.
that. That's not to say that you don't. But that would be red. That's mine. That's mine to own. But if I look at the situation and I know that I made the best decision that I could, whether it's for me or for myself or whatever, I have to release your reaction. Like, your reaction cannot bother me. I have spent a lot of my life being a sponge. Like, if other people around me are upset or disappointed or whatever, like, I take that on, I soak that up, and that becomes my emotion. And the last year, I have like really been working on not doing that. And so that analogy just, I don't know if that helps anybody else, but for me, that has been like life-giving, life-giving.
I bet you every single person who's listening right now is like either being like, yes, I went through this exercise with my own Kate 5 years ago. And I can tell you that it changed my life. Or they're hearing that for the first time and you've just changed their life.
It's such a helpful visual for me.
Yeah. So my therapist, it was more, I love that analogy. It was more like there's a circle and everything inside the circle is what I can control.
Yep.
And then all these hundreds of things live outside of the circle.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can care about for me to feel like I'm not that sponge that literally that I weigh 5,000 pounds because I'm carrying everything outside of that circle on my body, in my brain, in my heart, that I will feel the most free when I feel like my focus is on my circle.
Yep.
And goodness, you're ahead of me, Liz. I learned this like 2 years ago.
It's hard.
Truly.
It's hard, man.
It's hard, but it's goodness. If I knew that in my 20s, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think why we tend to learn this lesson in our 30s is because it takes some confidence to realize everything's going to be okay if my focus is on what's the most important thing for me. And I think things can feel so shaky in your 20s, but then by the time you get to your 30s, you've got a decade behind you of like doing the thing. And now you've got the confidence to start working on some of those deeper, harder mental things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's hard. But it's beautiful.
It is. I was just going to say that.
If we feel like this in our 30s, then our 40s are going to be even better.
I can't even imagine. I can. Like, it only gets better. I
know.
Loving yourself and trusting your gut and owning up to when you make mistakes. Like, I think that's been another really big learning curve for me too, of like, you're not infallible. Not that I ever did, but like, and I won't go into details, but like, there was something I said to Laura or said a few months ago that hurt Laura's feelings. And I hated that I hurt her like that. I hated, like, I was laying in bed at night, just my stomach hurt. Like, I love her and I hate that my actions made her feel anything but good. Like, that just, I hated that. And you have to own up when you do stuff like that, you know, whether you intentionally hurt somebody or not, obviously. And I know she knew that it wasn't intentional for me to hurt her, but it doesn't matter. Like, I did. And I think have finally come to the age of like, I did that. I'm so sorry. I screwed up. That was on me. I'm really sorry that I did that. And I hope that you can forgive me and we can continue and repair. That's been another really big learning thing, I think, for me in my 20s of own it. Like, it's okay.
Own it.
Own
And
it.
don't like give. Okay, first of all, I love that you just said that because I literally screwed up, not hugely, but I did. I made a big mistake last week. And in my 20s, I would have rattled off like 10 excuses why I made this mistake.
That's so funny.
But the reason why I made the mistake was just because I like screwed up and I completely forgot about something.
Yeah.
And so I went to this friend, and instead of leading with 10 excuses of why I messed up, I literally just said, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
This slipped my mind. I feel horrible, and I'm going to do everything right now to make it up to you. And then it was received so well. She was so kind.
Yeah.
And I took care of it, and we've both moved on. And I cannot tell you how freeing it felt to just be completely transparent with and vulnerable
Yeah.
when you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I love that you brought that up because, I mean, looking back, Liz, it was such a little thing.
I know, but I hurt you and I hated that, you know?
Oh, I don't want anyone listening to think it was like anything huge. It was just like a little blip.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. And the context is things were absolutely bananas. Like we were all stressed to our eyeballs and it was just like like
it was
an absolute hurricane around us. And I just,
was.
But I have gotten to the age where like I love my people and I have to own up whether it's intentional or not. When I screw up, like you have to know I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh. And I think it was a beautiful example of like I could have buried it. Like I could have just been like, oh, this hurt my feelings. And so but I like felt like, no, I like love
we're
this
better than
person.
that. Yeah,
yes, we're
yeah,
and
we're better
her
than
like
that.
her
Yeah.
friendship means so much to me. I'm just gonna say, hey, this thing kind of hurt my feelings. And I just wanted to like make sure
Bring
you
it
knew
to your
that. And
attention.
if we
Yeah.
And I'm proud
Instead
of the way
like harboring that and I'm so proud of the way that I'm so
proud
glad
of the
that
way
you said
both of
something.
us handled that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's made us better for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, what an episode. Okay, should we finish with some like less
yes, let's
heavy
let's lighten the load a little bit here, friend.
Okay, I have 3 really good rapid fire. Are you ready?
I'm ready for him. Bring it on.
Okay. 1. What was the worst fashion choice of your 20s?
Go back in my Facebook page and you'll find them.
Do not go back in mine. Anyway, okay. Worst fashion choice of your 20s.
Yeah, bangs. I cut bangs.
Oh.
Does that count? After I got married, I was
can't
like,
even picture it.
oh, Laura, it was so bad. I was like pinning them back with a bobby clip every day. It was so bad. And I wore a lot of statement necklaces. Remember those like big bauble?
The bauble.
Like teal, turquoise. Yeah.
Yes.
No, those need to stay in the trash. Yeah.
Oh.
I think,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, what about you? What about you? You have to
Okay,
give it
I'm
back.
thinking like the gaucho pants with
good
like
Lord. Those are coming back.
ballet
Did you know that?
flats. Oh no, yes, that's how long ago my 20s were. Is that they're already coming back.
They shouldn't. They're terrible.
But like a glittery like going out top with like gaucho pants.
Yeah.
and then
sequins.
like gosh, then like with ballet flats. Like who said that was good? Oh man, it does make what your Facebook timeline memory thing when it comes up, you're just like, golly.
It's a dose of humility,
Yes,
it really is.
Okay, how about the best trip you took in your 20s?
St. Bart's. I can't believe I got to go, but I went to St. Bart's with a college friend and her family. And it was the absolute most beautiful place I have ever, 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 ever been to. And probably will ever go to. It was everything it's cracked up to be. And Diddy had his yacht there while we were there, and that was really fun to pretend that we kept seeing Diddy. So.
Diddy. That's hilarious.
Yeah, St. Bart's. It was gorgeous.
Oh, love that. Okay, and last but not least, your proudest moment in your 20s. I think I might know what this is.
Yeah, I think you probably do. Was getting my job at Simplified for sure.
Oh my gosh, no, I was going to say becoming a mom.
Oh, I was no. Oh my God. I was 29 when I had my son. Oh my God. Oh my God, he's going to listen to this 15 years
No.
and be like, Mom? No, I kept thinking I was 30 when I had Bennett. No, I was 29.
But just
Okay,
you
yeah.
turned 30 like super soon,
That
right?
whole, yeah. Can we just talk about the first few months of motherhood are just a literal, like,
Yes.
diapery blur. So I guess having my son.
Okay, so
and
your
bringing
top
my
3
son
have
into
to
the world.
be your top 3 has to be just your journey through IVF,
Yeah, for
getting your
sure.
simplified job, and
Yep.
then having a baby.
Yeah,
They're
probably
they're
not
all
in that
prep.
order. Yeah, probably having my son and having someone slice into my belly and take a human being out that I grew for 9 months is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. So I will say that for sure. But
Pretty
getting
dang
my
proud
job,
after that.
yeah, pretty dang proud. But getting my job at Simplified was like a really fun way to close out my 20s too.
The cherry on top, for sure.
Yes, it was definitely. This was so much fun. This was a really
was
fun episode.
So much fun. And now I'm thinking maybe we need to have Emily do
Yeah,
like
30s.
a 40s, 30. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, until next time, friend.
Bye, friends.
As we close out this episode, I'd like to say a blessing for you as we leave this time together and get back into our days. If you're living through your 20s, I hope you remember that no matter how many questions you have or how many times you stumble, you are strong. You are smart, and you are worthy to sit at the table in front of you. If you're living through a different period of your life, I hope you remember to have compassion for the young woman you were and extend that compassion to the young people in your life who are making their way through it. And most of all, I hope you're proud of the lessons you've collected, the scars you've earned, and the people you've chosen to love. As always, I like to leave a little tip to help you put what we've talked about today into practice. Here's your task for this week. One of the most life things that we can solve is learning how to show ourselves compassion. If you struggle with that sometimes, I get it. When you're a recovering perfectionist, it can be hard to forgive yourself or show grace for yourself even when you didn't know the best way to move forward. This week, try writing a letter to yourself as if you were talking to your 25-year-old self. Acknowledge her triumphs, her struggles, and her pain, and let her know how she finds her way through it. Tell her about the people who helped her along the way and how proud you are of her. No matter if you're in your 20s now or if you haven't seen that decade in a while, you might be surprised how tender and loving this exercise makes you feel toward yourself. Hey, thanks for listening to the Simplified podcast. You can find show notes for this episode over at emilylay.com for more info on links and resources I mentioned here, and you can shop the entire collection of Simplified planners and products. You can follow me on Instagram at Laura Kashner and follow our brand at Simplified for tons of simplicity tips and inspiration to get you through the day. Thanks for being here, you guys. If you want conversations like this every week, click the follow button on our show wherever you listen to podcasts. That's all I've got for you today. Be sure to tune in next week for more Simplified goodness. And until next time, I hope you have a great day.